Hey there, I'm author Shannon Reber, and this is Genre's Bookshop Podcast. And this evening I am interviewing Trent Lutes. So, hi.
Hello.
Now, wait a second. I know you as Trent, but your books say Trenton. So,
Yes.
okay, which is your actual name? I have to know.
Oh, my real name is Trenton. Trent is a
Okay,
nickname. Yeah.
okay. My brother-in-law's name is Trent, and his name is Trent,
Ah,
not Trenton.
gotcha.
I
Yeah,
called
there's
him
not.
Trenton as mockery, and when he was first with my sister.
Nice. Yeah. Nope. And there's not many Trentons, although I have found a few. So, yeah.
Well, and now there's another. Oh wait, no, you've been around for a little while.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, now that is something that I'm curious about. Now that age has been mentioned, you
Yes.
are you are younger than me, aren't you? I'm 44.
Nope.
Oh, really?
I'm 46.
Okay, all right. So we're basically the same age.
Yeah. Close. Close enough. Yeah.
Close enough, exactly. Now,
Yep.
you started out with art, is that correct?
Yep. Painting, photography, sculpture. In college, I did glass blowing.
Ooh.
What else? Paper making. Bunch of different art related things. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually what my degree is in
Okay.
fine arts.
Oh, that's amazing. Are
Yep.
you still working with the arts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What do you do?
What do I do now?
Mm,
Um,
sorry, drinking while interviewing is probably a bad move.
that's
Sorry.
okay. That's all right. Yeah, you might see me sip my whiskey in a second or two. Just
Mine is just lemonade, I swear. It
okay.
is.
It's not spiked lemonade or anything.
Well, it will be
Um,
later. I figured I should have a clear mind.
there you go. Perfect. So right now I'm doing acrylic paint skins with photographic transfers,
Ooh.
and that's the main thing that I've been working on. I mean,
Okay.
I still paint some. I still do just photography some. I don't really do a whole lot of sculpture anymore. That was easier to do while I was in college.
Okay.
Glass blowing, unfortunately, I would love to do more, but that is a very expensive endeavor to undertake. The startup costs are pretty high. So
That would be, yeah. I've only seen videos of it, but from what I've seen, it looks like a completely it looks amazing, but it looks like it would take a lot of time and space and like you'd have to have exactly the right space to do it, right?
yeah, it has to. Yeah, you have to have a pretty good set. I mean, it doesn't have to be huge, but
Okay.
it has to be properly cooled because you get hot. It has to be. Yeah, there's just a lot of things that, at least based on what I learned in college, it would be easier to do. Plus, when I was in college back then, the only thing that was available to maintain the molten glass was like a constant flow of like was it propane? I can't remember, but exactly. But that was a really that was a real limiting factor. Now you can get uh, electric, and it's a little
Oh,
bit easier. Yeah.
I get you.
But, yeah.
Okay, so you've been artsy your whole life. Have you always written, or is writing something new for you?
Writing is fairly new.
Okay.
So I although here funny side story, my mom sent me a bunch of paperwork from papers and stuff from when I was in like school, like, and I want to say I don't remember what year or how long ago, but I did have a like 2 or 3 page synopsis for a story with aliens invading and things like
Ah!
that, even way back then. So it was kind of, I was like, wow, because I didn't remember it at all.
Okay.
But then I saw it and I was like, you know what? When I get done with this series, maybe I'll take that and I'll run with it and see if I can't make a story out of that as well. So
That's so fun. I love that.
yeah, and
How old were you when you did that though?
I'm
You
not
wrote
really
the
sure. It
Oh,
didn't really.
okay.
There weren't any dates on it or anything. It was just kind of mixed
Oh.
in with some papers from. It was probably elementary, based on the fact that it looked like it was done on a typewriter.
Oh, okay, okay. See, I was never allowed to use my mom's typewriter because it was hers and it was very special. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but have you always been a story person? Are you much of a reader? Were you
Oh,
much of a
yeah.
reader as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read, I'm always reading. So nowadays, I guess they call them graphic novels. I read
Oh
comics a
yeah.
lot when I was a kid. A lot of comics, a lot of sci-fi fantasy, which is what I write now.
Uh-huh.
Um, I read a lot of David Eddings. I read
Okay.
Brandon Sanderson now, Robert Jordan
Oh
back
yeah.
then. And of course, I also throw in some like horror and mystery and stuff like that, like Dean Koontz, Stephen King. I like to read those types of things as well. So,
Okay.
yeah,
That's very cool.
yep, lots of stuff.
Okay, so with all of this as your background, uh,
Mhm.
what gave you the idea for your books? Your books are Inspire, and then what's book two?
Book two is Beyond the Wasted Lands, and
Okay,
it's
okay,
the series is the Terra Healers.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
So where did your idea come from? Did it just pop into your head, or is it something that
And
morphed?
it pretty much popped into my head.
Oh,
So the the reason I started trying to write was there was a coworker of mine at my old job, and I was sitting reading probably Brandon Sanderson in the break room, and he came in and asked me. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "You like sci-fi fantasy?" I was like, "I do. I like it a lot. I read a lot of it." And he's like, "Cool." He's like, "I wrote a book." I was like, really? And he's like, it's sci-fi fantasy. He's like, I've never published it. He's like, I keep retweaking it and tinkering with it and stuff. He's like, would you want to read it and give me some thoughts and feedback and maybe even correct some of my grammar? And,
oh, okay,
and I said, absolutely. I said, that would be so
okay.
cool. So I read the book. And then my wife Fergie read the book because she's the grammar and English person. So she helped more with that stuff. And then and then it kind of just got me thinking, like I always have all these crazy ideas floating around in my head, like different stories. And I've read so many things over the years. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot. So I started jotting down notes about like where the story would take place. And then once I kind of had an idea, and I started creating characters. And once the characters were set, I was like, well, now I got to figure out what I want to do with them. So, which was actually the fun part because I kind of knew how the book was going to end, but
Oh, okay.
I kind of let the characters write the book. Like they all had
I do that too, yes.
they have conversations in my head
Hmm.
and yeah, all
I
that
totally
stuff.
feel you there.
Yeah, so it does when you tell people, if they don't understand and you tell people, they probably think you're a little crazy. Like,
But that's what makes us cooler than they are. Come on.
exactly, right, exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of how it all came to be, and now I've written two books. I'm working on the third and final book in the trilogy, and that one's going to be called hold on, Raven's Hope.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's very
So
cool.
thanks. So
Okay, so your genre, are you just fantasy, or do you consider yourself like YA, dystopian?
mhm.
Do you all the subcategories? Where do you fit in?
So many subcategories. It's kind of annoying. Like I personally prefer like just saying that it's sci-fi fantasy, but
Yeah.
like it is geared towards it is a so officially as it's filed with like the Library of Congress, it's young adult dystopian sci-fi fantasy.
Okay.
Those are the labels that it has. But I mean, I've had people in their 60s and 70s read the books and love
Right.
them. I've had young kids read the books and love them. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, granted, there are some when you just say like sci-fi fantasy. There are some sci-fi fantasy books you don't want kids reading.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
these are not those. The kids, it's perfectly young adult friendly. There's actually no swearing. There's how do you say this? There's reference to like sexual things, but nothing
Okay.
like explicit. It's
Right.
very it's done through like metaphors and stuff, so that you know
Okay.
if you're a grown up and you're reading it, you're probably going
You
to
get it.
understand what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But as a kid, you might still understand what I'm talking about, but because kids these days are a little bit
Yeah.
more
They're
advanced.
more worldly than we
Yeah,
probably were
more
when we were younger.
worldly.
There
That's a
you
good way
go.
to put it. That's a good way to
Thank
put it.
you.
They're
Thank you. I
more
try.
worldly.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you do have a pseudo swear in there, don't you? The word that they all say when it would
Oh,
normally be a swear word?
yeah. Yeah. So there's a character, her name is Isabel, and she was the first of the Terra healers. So she kind of became like, I wouldn't say there's a religion. There's really no religion in the book, but she's kind of revered, I guess it would be the
Okay.
way. So like people, when something good happens, they'll say like stuff like Isabel be praised.
Ah,
When there's something bad that happens, I'm trying to think of one of the ones, and sometimes I fail at this, but there's like Isabel, uh, blessed Isabel. There's uh, Isabel's ghost. That's the one.
I like
That's what
that.
they say when they swear. Yeah, they say Isabel's ghost.
Okay.
Um,
I
so
like that a lot.
yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so your main characters are teenagers, but
Mhm.
are how old are your teenage kids?
They're probably well, the age is probably I think when I first started writing they were younger, but then I realized that I wanted to make them a little bit older so that it wasn't weird. Um, Uh, and so they're between the ages of like 17 and early 20s
Okay.
actually. There's a couple of characters that come in later on in the first book, and they're a little bit older. They're more like 20, maybe even 21.
Okay.
But most of them are probably between the age of like 17 and 19, I would say. But that's I don't that's a funny story because I don't really like. I think I actually do talk about their age at one point in the very first book, but you kind of get my no, my brain goes beyond it. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes age doesn't matter because you're in a stressful situation. It doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is how you react to the situation.
yes,
So,
right, exactly.
exactly.
And they all react pretty well, sarcastically, but
So,
pretty well.
well, yeah. I mean, sarcasm is to be expected.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm super sarcastic, so
No,
and
really?
yes, so is my whole family. So like,
Mm,
it would only make sense that I write what I know. So
that's true. That's very true.
yep, exactly.
Ah, yes. Well, okay. So, Fergie is your beta reader. Do you have other beta readers who work for you or who deal with your books, or are
Work
you?
for me.
Yes, I know exactly.
They volunteer their time
Volunteer. Yeah,
and
yeah,
get to read the book in advance of publishing.
yeah.
That's pretty much all they get out of that deal.
Yeah.
Although I do send them a signed copy usually.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have, yeah. I mean, obviously, so my mom, my brother, and my sister they pre-read the book.
Okay.
I had the first book. I had a local friend who read the first book. And I also mentioned them all in the uh, yeah. Mhm. Yep, that part at the end. The acknowledgments. That's the word.
Okay.
In the acknowledgments, and when I'm just like talking about like my process and things, I mention everybody who's been involved, and then trying to think my who else? There have been a few other people. And the second book, I think at the second book, I only had two people who
Okay.
did beta read for me, and um, Fergie made me wait until I think she would only read it when I was done with. I don't remember if it's the whole book or if it was each part. I think she would read after I finished like part one, part two, part three,
Okay.
because she didn't want to like be reading and forget where she was and read chapter by chapter. And my mom and my brother and sister, after the first book was published, asked that like if I wanted to send them the book before it was published, they would read it, but don't send it to them chapter by chapter either. So
Oh,
they lost like the flow of the book when I was doing it chapter by
right.
chapter. So um, and then the second book I had a friend who I haven't seen or spoken to since probably high school, and he found out I'd written the first book
Oh,
probably on Facebook,
okay.
and started getting in touch with me. And he bought the book and was reading it. And we were more probably in high school. We were probably more acquaintances, and then like maybe for a few years after high school, we started to hang out a little bit more, and then
Okay.
just didn't hang out at all. But he messaged me like he'd be like, dude, he's like, I can't believe that just happened in the book, or like, wow, that was awesome. He's like, or he's like, I thought I was gonna have to hurt you because I thought you killed off my favorite character, and like stuff like that. And so it was just like it was because he hasn't been involved in my life in a very long time. It was kind of
Right.
like really nice to get that feedback from someone who wasn't a relative or that sort of thing. So
Right.
when I went to write the second book, I wanted to thank him. So obviously I was going to put him in the acknowledgments and stuff. But then I also named a character after him. So
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So that happens, and he got to read the second book before it was released, um, so that he was in agreement that his character was still cool enough to.
Would you have actually changed it if he said that the character wasn't cool enough?
If he didn't like it, I'd have just changed the name. I could have been. I could have, but the character was already done. Changing the name is easy, you
That's
know.
true. It's true. See,
Control,
I
control,
found I
replace.
change names a lot, and it's not always easy because if you change the name, they forget the apostrophe S.
Mm.
So it doesn't get changed for those.
Oh,
I don't know
gotcha.
how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happens.
Gotcha. Yeah, for some reason, yeah. You have to
It's
remember to
very
do the extra replace.
and precisely, precisely.
Yeah. So
Okay, so we need a quick description of the series. I mean, dystopian YA is it's very vague. So can you give
yeah,
us a little synopsis?
yeah, dystopian.
It's the hardest part of any writer's journey is coming up with the synopsis that
Yeah.
you can give people.
Yeah. So what I do is I cheat and I read from
Okay.
the back of the book
That
because
is cheating.
it is cheating, but technically it is my summary and
It's
it
yours,
is
yeah.
my synopsis. So I already wrote it, but it helps me, and it also keeps me from giving out spoilers,
Okay.
which I think I did once at like
Oh
at like
no.
a book discussion. It wasn't so much with the first book; it's with the second book. The second book is particularly hard to talk about because
Oh,
if I'm talking to a group of people who never read the series before and
right.
didn't read the first book, I don't want to tell them what's going on in the second book because it's going to give away what happens in the first book. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's kind of this, but it was definitely the second book, and I think I said something about a character or something like that. And I mean, I just glossed right over it because they've never read the books either, so odds are they won't remember. I
Fingers
hope.
crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, that in reality I just gave a big spoiler.
Oh.
So anyway, so this is what I wrote. This is from the back of the book. This is from the first book. So this is the pollution level event decimated the world, leaving it a stark and polluted dystopia. Soon afterward, the first Terra healers began to manifest their pollution-fueled abilities. Many at that time believed them to be the last hope for a dying world. Now, over a century later, in a tiny community protected by the Terra healers from the poisons that devastated the planet, life couldn't be better for Wolf and his friends. Clean, beautiful, and bucolic, Oasis was a true utopia. However, things don't always go as planned, and soon everything for this small group of friends would be flipped upside down, leading them, along with an unlikely ally, out into the unforgiving wastelands to meet their destiny. Their unexpected journey to the Terror Perfect Dome and the Inspire, home of the High Empress, will take them down a path filled with suffering and self discovery. Thankfully, their unshakable friendships, sarcastic senses of humor, and a few blossoming relationships will give them all the strength they need to survive even the most difficult of tasks. So you're going to join Wolf, his sister Erin, and their friends as they travel the Wasted Lands in the first book of the series, Inspire. So
That's very cool. And
thanks. So yeah,
There's hearing myself is a little bit
a little weird.
unusual. Yes, yes.
little,
But
little
yeah,
echo.
that really does sound amazing. And
Nice.
I have started reading book one, and I still haven't finished it. It's nothing. I have so many books, and it's so hard to read books that aren't audiobooks. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have the hardest time. So if you want to turn your books into audiobooks, I will be there in a hot second.
You're not the first person to ask me that. So yeah, I have a friend who has some learning disabilities that like
Okay.
dyslexia. He's a little dyslexic, so he has
Okay.
he struggles with reading as well. He can do it,
Yeah, yeah.
but it just takes him a while. So he was like, "Dude, make an audiobook. Like, come on."
Yeah.
So yeah, yep,
I have a friend who's a writer, and I was just asking him about he's got like several different series that he's working on. I'm like, okay, so when are the audiobooks coming out for these? And
right.
he's like, well, I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do these. I'm like, I can't believe you're not making audiobooks just for me. How rude.
Right, right, exactly. Yep. So, but I think probably at this point, my plan will be to finish the third book, get that published, and then probably work on the extended like things. So
Okay.
these are all paperbacks. So I'd like to do audiobook, and I would like to go with I'm going to go with another independent publisher and or publishing company, and
Okay.
hopefully get hardcovers done.
Oh,
Um, there's a story behind why, but I won't get into that too much.
okay.
But it basically involves I use Amazon, and
Yeah.
basically involves the battle between Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Oh, I
So,
see. I
uh,
see. I getcha.
yeah.
See,
So
I'm in a battle right now with the KDP cover design thing because I
mm,
designed this beautiful perfect cover. I was so excited,
and it
and
doesn't fit.
it doesn't yeah, doesn't fit, and they won't let me use it because I use partially their system and then partially my system. So it's all or nothing with them.
Oh,
So I'm very angry at them. So I
yeah,
had to step away for a little while
that's
so
a
there would
bummer.
be no violence.
That is a bummer. I managed, thankfully, like for me, I was able to, like, because of my art background, I was able
Yeah.
to like design the covers all through. I actually used Corel Paint Shop Pro
Oh, cool.
and created all of them.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so that was helpful because then all you have to do is import it, and then just cross your fingers that
Yeah.
the size and the format fits the size and the format of the front cover. So and
Exactly, exactly.
usually I have to tweak it about half a dozen times or so before it officially works right. But
I understand, yes.
it's not as terrible as fighting actually with them about. But yeah, so
Well, yeah, that is a tough one
yeah,
because, they don't actually care.
right,
I'm not
right,
sure if you're
exactly,
aware of this, but their computers don't actually care.
right.
It's
They don't.
strange.
Yeah. They do
Uh,
not care. They haven't reached that level of AI yet. And when they do, that's when I'm gonna retire somewhere
I
far, far away in a mountain land.
I think you're right. Yeah, yeah. I will miss the computers, but not like that.
Yeah.
Well, so your books are on Barnes and Noble as well then?
hmm Yeah. So,
Yeah. How
so
is
you,
that? How is that? I've never done that before.
so when you do, okay, so when you go through KDP,
Yeah.
and you set it up to be, what's the setting you have to select? It's on like that third screen where you're setting up like the prices and stuff, I think,
Yeah.
and you have to set it up to be able to be distributed by outside distributors.
Oh, okay.
And once you do that, it becomes available for Barnes and
Oh,
Noble to add it. They can add it to their website
okay.
because it's still print on demand, but they
Right.
cannot put it. They won't. They can't or will not, whichever way you'd like to look at it.
I
Put
think
it
it's
in
will
their
not.
put it in their physical stores.
Okay.
And because they won't put it in their physical stores, I cannot do a book event with them.
Right. Right, right.
So it's kind of unfortunate, which is why I'm looking. There's another, like I said, another independent like company that you can publish through, and I
Okay.
can't. I'm struggling right now to think of the name of it. I'll have to ask my friend who told me, so that when I get around to doing it. But they said that you wouldn't have that issue because they're
Oh,
smaller, so I'm not sure. I'm still not 100% sure if that's the case, but we'll see.
okay.
It's worth a
Well,
shot.
okay. So for anyone who is looking for your book,
Mhm,
you Trent and Lutes,
mhm.
Inspire. I still forgot the name of the second book.
Beyond the Wasted Lands.
Okay, Beyond the Wasted Lands.
Yep.
Those are on Amazon,
Mhm.
on Barnes and Noble. Are there other places, or is it just
Online,
those two?
online, those it's just those two currently that
Okay,
you can
okay,
get
okay.
them through. Yeah.
And also at Genres Bookshop. Don't forget
Also,
that one.
also exactly at Genres Bookshop. Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that little plug that I gave
Yeah.
myself.
But it's true. You've
Yes,
actually done well by me. You've sold several of my books,
I
so I
have.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people who came in earlier this week, it was a kid named Sebastian, and Sebastian was very excited to support a local author's book.
Awesome. That's very
Yes.
cool. That makes it even cooler. So nice.
Well, I say kid, but he said he was 30. So, I mean, you know you're getting old when someone in their 30s is a kid
Right.
to you.
Exactly. Right. Yes. You're like, oh wow. All right.
Oh, oh, little fella, little fella.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was great to talk to you. And
Yeah, you too.
when you have book three out, you know you have to come back on, and
Yep.
you need to do an event at the shop, or Lakeshore Center for the Arts does a really good job with book events too.
Yep. I
So,
actually did one with them for the second book.
hey, how was it? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun. Yep.
Yay!
Yep. It was a good time. Yep. And I actually did a podcast
Okay.
with yeah, Rick
Oh, Rick
Mascaro.
Mascaro. Okay.
Mascaro. Yeah.
I did not
Yep.
realize he was doing podcasts.
Yep. Yeah. He did an interview with me right before the official like book event.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, he's very good at that. I mean, so are you. So,
Thank you.
so far, I've been having a lot of fun doing these types of things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I've gone on, been on WRFA, the local arts and radio station out of
Wow.
Jamestown, a couple
Okay.
of times for both books, and done
That's
some stuff.
amazing.
So, yeah, promotional stuff like that. So,
That's
yep,
very cool.
yeah,
Ah, well, thank you for being on. And
yeah, thanks.
book three, you got to come back, and I
Yep.
will see you around town, I think.
Absolutely, and hopefully that book three will be done by the end of the year. That's my plan.
Hey.
That's my plan.
Okay, and then the audiobooks come. Then the
Yes.
audiobooks come, right, Trent?
Audiobooks, hardcover books, I don't know, movie.
Hey.
Well, I don't know, who
Oh,
knows?
movies. Yes, great idea. Excellent
Yeah,
idea.
sure. Why not? Why not? All I need is someone to come and option it. So
Yes, yes, yes. All
yeah.
right. Well, on that very positive note, all right. Talk to you later, Trent.
Yep. See you later,
Bye.
Shannon. Bye.